Hello, hello, hello. I have a rose. Isn't that nice? Hello, rose. Hello, look at that. Beautiful, like a very, 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 almost a little bit yellow, but it's white. But it has a little bit of a yellow creamy glow. Yes, very nice. Very nice is that. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So I'm gonna make a foot massage video. Here's the other rose. This is the very, very, very pale purple light blue. And it doesn't have a bud yet. It had one rose. So it will take a while until it will get another bud, but it will develop another bud eventually. They're doing very well. This is very nice. This is already the third one from the white rose. That's very, very awesome. I'm so excited. So I'm gonna sit here with these shoes and I will put the camera into the shoes. And I just took a bath and it was wonderful, absolutely incredible. And Paul, he took his red chair and sat next to me, next to the bathtub out there under the blackberry brush. And then he looked into the blackberries and he said, "Oh man, they look so delicious." He got himself the picker, like a picker extension. And he went and he got me like 2 hands full of blackberries while I was in the bathtub. It was Schlaraffenland. It was heavenly. So I'm gonna put this here into my shoe, or like this here. And I will make a foot massage. Oh, I wanna also introduce you to this. I think I've already shown this before. More lavender calming body lotion. More is bog. More means bog. More is a German word. More, like moor. Moor is like a, like a muddy bog area, like a wetland, and with dark earth clays. And so the lavender that grows around there is a wild lavender, and that's called moor lavender. And more and more and more lavender, and it's absolutely heavenly and wonderful. So I'm gonna do a foot massage with this. I have not put cream on my feet yet after I came out of the bathtub, and I'm gonna do that now. I put some on my legs, but I haven't put it on the feet directly yet. So I hope this comes out okay. It's a little bit, seems like it's a little bit dark, but it's okay. It's alright. It looks really nice and natural. So it's wonderful. It's really nice. I recommend to people to take bath. And if you don't have a bathtub, you take showers. But I recommend to you all to go for vacations where there are hot springs. And there are hot springs almost in every area on the whole globe. So you don't even have to travel that far. You can, if you don't have a car, you can rent For example, you can rent an RV, or you can rent a van, or even just a car. You know, you go camping and with a tent. You know, I recommend that to people, to go out there and enjoy the wild hot springs. This is real healing for the body and the mind. So I want to talk a little bit about my emotions. Yesterday and today have been dealing with a lot of anger. I wrote a short story to get these troubling emotions off my chest. And so the short story is only 5 pages long, and it is about the character Leonard Stetchik, which I have mentioned many times before in my videos. It's a fictional character in the book The Pale King by David Foster Wallace. The book is unfinished but has already like 1,000 pages. He committed suicide while he was writing the book. And I can clearly see all these, I would say almost all of the, or many of the characters in his books are different personality characteristics, like different parts of his own personality, like different aspects of it. But not all. There are some that are clearly terrible people in the book, and those are, I would say, those are the perpetrators, also the perpetrators in his own personal life. Much of it has autobiographical characteristics in that book, and the book is very hard to read. There are passages in the book that I had to browse through with like one eye, kind of like I do when I sign animal rights petitions. You know, I try not to read the story, but I have to know enough of the story to know what's going on, just roughly, and that to know that this is the right petition for me to sign, because I also pay attention when I get care2 or change.org. There are, once in a while, there's a petition among them that I do not want to sign, okay, that has to do with, yeah, like, kind of like, has to do with giving psychopath rights and stuff like this. So I don't know what these people are thinking. So, but yeah, there are people like this out there. And so Leonard Stetchik, as I talked about this before, is a very exaggerated character. So it's an exaggerated part of himself that he tries to portray in form of a caricature in order to make this more outlined, in order to make this more understood by the public. Because, you know, if we write about it in very very nuanced, in a very gradual way, in a very detailed way, in a very like downplayed way, then the public doesn't really get it. It will fly past them. So sometimes we have to, in order to make something understood, when we have a specific message we have to put it into a stronger format, into a stronger tone. So, and for that, we need to highlight the characteristics and put it into an exaggeration in order. It's kind of like highlighting something with a highlighting marker, you know. So you just make it more pronounced, that what you want to portray. And you know, like as if I'm in group session and I'm standing up and I'm saying, oh, you know, uh, the teacher was a monster again, and she looked over my shoulder and she made fun of me, and she looked like this shape shifting whatever. So you know, to bring it more out in a more pronounced way. Also for David, it was also a bit of a joy, you know, a much joy of playing with words with this. And it's like a word dance. So a real good writer knows how to play with words and make them dance and make them jump and fly. So that's what he did. And to make it also amusing for the reader, to not make it too depressing. He didn't want to be too depressing. He didn't want to come across as self-pitying, but he deserved to, you know, that's something that he should have done more, because that's how he felt. So he kind of suppressed that part of himself, the self-pitying part. The feeling was there, but he suppressed it, and then he wrapped a lot of things into a self-deprecating joke in order to, I don't know, he didn't want to depress people, and he also didn't want people to think of him that he is just a self-pitying kind of guy. He was very, very self-conscious in terms of what other people think of him, and I feel terrible for him for that. Really, really terrible. So I know how that feels like. I can fully relate to this, you know. I'm super self-critical myself. So, yeah, I know how that feels like, you know. Very, very self-conscious myself. I feel very awkward and very just very aware of what kind of emotion, when it takes over, how this could be seen by someone else, and this and this and this. I'm trying to work on it. I'm trying to relax this more and let it be, you know, just the way it is. It's not easy, but, you know, we can practice this, and I practice this every day with meditation. And I woke up this morning, somewhere around 9:30 or 10, and I wanted to go back to sleep because normally I sleep until 12. And then I just was lying awake for 2 hours and kind of like in a daze or something, but I was awake, and it was sort of like a meditation, and all of these emotions, you know, came up, and the emotions that have been bothering me for like 3 days now. Emotions of helplessness in regards to the suffering in the world. You know, I want to help, and yet I feel like the petition goes to a psychopath, or to someone who just equally does not care, just equally oblivious to other people suffering as a psychopath is. They may not be a criminal, but a corporate. I call them the corporate psychopath. The ones that do their cold things behind closed doors and in a bureaucratic way, in a legislative way. So lots of CEOs, lots of politicians that are like this, and lots of CEOs become politicians in order to practice vested interest, conflict of interest. They get into positions that are supposed to regulate the very people that they represent. So all of this makes me very helpless, and then out of that helplessness comes a tremendous pain, and out of this pain comes a tremendous hatred. And so I was lying awake with this hatred, and so it's finally left, by the time I got into the tub, it had left. And I was so glad, so I was looking forward to going into the tub and soaking in hot water with clay in it, and feels incredibly good. So, and I'm infinitely grateful for having that. So, and I wanted to make a video about this particular thing, these feelings of total helplessness, and I know I'm not alone. My friends, my animal rights friends have it too, and so we cry on each other's shoulders once in a while, and that's very important. I wished we could cry on each other's shoulders in person, and I wished we had a therapy center. That's my ultimate wish, to create a therapy center for everyone, for free, offer therapy for free. A center that's there for people. It's, center in a good way. A center, a health center. So I think I would just call it help center. Help center, This is what everyone needs. This is what every teenager needs. So there's a lot of people out there that would never go there, in the beginning at least. They would never go there. They're really far away from that. They're afraid of it. They think that it would make them look like a soy boy. The girls would enjoy it, definitely. So, but I can't force, and I couldn't force anyone to introspect. I can't force anyone out there, the very people that need it the most, that are people that let things out on others. They're the most damaged, and they're the most withdrawn. They're the last ones to would enter a therapy center like this. So this is real healing. But I can't worry about this if they don't show up. We need a therapy center. We need it real desperately. I don't know how to establish this, but we need to have this at some point. It's very important. So, mosquitoes. Ooh. But in the meantime, the only thing that I have available is making videos and being kind of like the first one to express myself. As hard as it is for me, with stuttering and saying wrong things and wrong expression, wrong grammar, and out of insecurity and all of this. It is what it is. I am where I am emotionally, and self-esteem wise. And just because I speak up doesn't mean I have very high self-esteem. People have misjudged me on this many times in the past, when they would say you're a badass or something, that's nice, but I don't, first of all, I don't like the word because bad is not good. People reverse all of these things. So, and then second, I am not, I am not confident at all. The reason why I speak out is because I care very deeply. And I I care so much that I push through the insecurity. I hope that makes sense. So that doesn't mean the insecurity is gone. And same with David Foster Wallace also. So I can identify myself with his personality so extremely, like 100%. The same energy pattern around him as it is around me. Highly sensitive, very kind of awkward, kind of self-conscious, trying to also escape from pain and all the time, addictive personality, which I am beginning to heal now. So, I quit all the stuff at 25 because I knew this was literally a dead-end street, wasn't going anywhere. So if you want to live, then really live. And that is my philosophy about living. You want to live, then let's really live and not escape into drugs, alcohol, nicotine, religions. No escape route. No escape. But there are wonderful things that are healing for us that can also be a little bit addictive, but they're not gonna cause side effects. They're not gonna cause withdrawal symptoms. They're good for us. And even if someone buys a lot of perfume oils, that's a whole lot better than any of these other addictions. So we need to do things for ourselves that are really, really healing, that are beneficial. That's the most important foundation. A lot of people they can't even do this. A lot of people cannot really be nurturing to themselves, and I wonder why that is. So it might bring up a pain that they're afraid of, an emotional pain that they're afraid of, the pain of this disruption of homeostasis, which is, I give myself love, and then it causes disruption of homeostasis in my psychology, and my emotional pain from the past will come up because it becomes visible. If I no longer have the present time structured the way the past was. So if I create the present time, nurturing myself, then the past pain will become visible. It will become highlighted. And then I have to look at it. And we need to look at it. You nurture yourself, you also go into meditation, you don't act it out in any way, you don't cause more drama or conflict or hurt, or because drama causes more hurt. And then these people, they kind of drown themselves out, or they drown out their emotional pain from the past with the current drama, which they're kind of used to, and which numbs them in a way away from the emotional pain from the past. So the most important thing is, and even if it doesn't come naturally to people, I highly recommend to people to nurture themselves. And a lot of people, they feel like their minds are so geared towards receiving a message from someone, or I see this, they're constantly looking at their phone to, did I get a message now from this or that person in return? And they have become addicted. They have created an addiction and dopamine receptor and outlet loop in the brain of this getting a message. And then in the course of their life, they spend the majority of their waking hours with this. And that's an addiction. People, first of all, have to acknowledge that this is a dangerous addiction. Okay, they forget about their nurturing themselves. They're so glued and so addicted to what other people say. There are people in chat rooms, it seems like this is how it appeared to me, because every time I went into the chat room, wouldn't matter at what time I would check in, I see the same people in there. There are some people that are in these chat rooms all the time, and they're in there all the time. I'm not making fun. I understand what the problem, and I understand the pain underneath, 100%. They're addicted to the response of someone else because it getting a response from someone else, even if it's a negative response, it still creates a dopamine, or like an endorphin outlet through the corpus callosum in the brain. People need to just become consciously aware of this. That's the first step. Okay, to know, okay, this is an addiction, and this immediately makes this immediately takes this tension out of the situation. So then oh, that other person that I want a response from, it's not that important. You are more important to take care of yourself, of your body. It's way more important. I was hooked on all of this when I was a teenager. And when we are teenagers, that's real intense. We're the most vulnerable during those years, the most vulnerable. And that's why I so urgently want to create a therapy center, because I don't want all these teenagers to fall into the same painful, agonizing traps that we have been through, or and I have been through, and it was so extremely painful. Waiting for the phone call of that boy that I was in love with, and then he wasn't calling me, and I felt unloved, and it was all, very, very painful. And there's an emotional pain underneath, okay, underneath all of this. So we need to put the emphasis into, first of all, the emphasis is when we have a protégé, when we have an animal, the animal is the most important, okay, to take care of. If you cannot provide this, don't have an animal. All the people out there that may be very busy with other things. So if you cannot provide this, please give your animals to someone who can provide this care that they need. So the safety of the animals is priority. Always, I would just want to make this very clear. Because they're innocent, and they're the most innocent, and they're to the mercy of humans. Okay, so please make sure that your animals are taken care of. And then, so the second priority is that you take care of your own bodies. It's the most important thing. David, that's what I would have said to David Foster Wallace, the writer. Take care of yourself. you know, and I would have tried to help him with this, you know, with the alcohol addiction, the marijuana addiction, and all of this. I would have tried to help him. I would have nursed him back to health on every level. So he suffered horrendously, and it doesn't need to happen. This kind of suffering, you know, that's what I want to try to tell people. It does not need to happen. If we take really good care of ourselves, if we know about these addiction loops in the brain, you know, then the moment we become aware about it and this addiction loop happens, then we can recognize it for what it is. And it immediately loses its grip and its ferocity, I don't know, ferociousness. So yeah, so the most important thing is that we become aware about all of these things, about the priorities and about taking care of ourselves, and give ourselves massages like this, and sit in nature. Very, very important. It is very important. And also sit in meditation and allow the feelings to come up, and do affirmations. That's very important, you know. Very, very important to write these things on a piece of paper and put that under a water container, and then drink from that water container. You know, they sell clear water containers that are about 3-gallon water containers. They're sort of like rectangular, cubic in shape. They have a spigot at one end. You can set that on the table on top of an affirmation paper. That's what I did. Teal Swan talks about this in her book. And Dr. Masaru Emoto from Japan talks about this. Very important work that he has done on water, on the receptivity of water to energies. Words carry energies with them. It's very important. Most people don't know this. They lash out with words, and they think because they've been told some false thing, like sticks and stones, these kind of messages from childhood, that they believe it, and it's completely false. You know, words can hurt people very badly. We see it all the time. Yeah. And then they go, oh, you shouldn't let that hurt you. Well, it hurts, you know, if we become aware, and it's the haters that are most repressed with these things. Everything is so unconscious. That's why when someone says the wrong thing, they fly off the handle and they hit someone. So that's how repressed they are. They're not leaned back at all. You know? The more we bring these emotions to the surface, the more relaxed we become, actually. You know? So it's very important that we bring these things out, that we discuss this, and that we really get into it and really feel the emotion. Let it run through us all the way and not be afraid of it. Just let it run through and take its course. You know, I let the anger run through me. I finally had to talk to Paul about it, which I don't like doing because he's not the best therapist for me, because he's judgmental and also very in his head. And he runs away from this stuff himself. But I had to talk to someone about it. So I came into the living room and he was already on the computer, and I said, I couldn't sleep anymore. I woke up early and I had to think about the horrors in the world, the suffering, and the psychopaths, the way they're dealing with other living beings, and it just made me so incredibly mad. It made me so incredibly mad. It was very painful. I had very, very terrible thoughts coming up in my head. Thoughts of how I want to, what I want to do, what, like, but, these are thoughts and we shouldn't be afraid of it. It's just a thought. And the thought is there, the emotion is there. Suppressing it makes it worse. So it's very important that we let it churn through our system and allow that all of these things, this is what I want to do to them, and this is, how I feel, and yeah, I let it go through, and then I sit there and I think, oh, I'm not supposed to have thoughts like this, I'm supposed to be a Buddha student, and then I'll say to Paul, well, this is not Buddhist, and then I feel kind of bad. I feel like my own emotions have set me back or something, but they haven't. It's just thoughts and feelings that come up, and if we repress it, it gets worse. It always pushes even harder up to the surface because it wants to be heard. It's there. So I let it come up. I let these incredibly violent thoughts come up, and I allow it. I talk to them and I tell them, yeah, I understand you, you know I understand why you feeling like this. And so I let this go through for a while, and then come enormous tears, that are just running and sobbing and all of this. And I let that all take its course and let it cry itself out. And then I feel a lot better. I feel heavier. I feel more grounded. Then I feel like, okay, I deserve a bath now. I deserve a foot massage. I deserve to put incredibly wonderful perfume oil on my arms and enjoy that. And then I start looking forward to this, and then I'm feeling a whole lot better. It's actually the moment we don't suppress an emotion anymore that we're already not in a resistant state, and then we're not in a depressed state or repressed state. Then we're in a flow state. Even though it's anger and all of this, it's flowing through, not acting it out on someone else. That doesn't get anywhere. That goes nowhere. That goes only into more pain and more suffering. So we're all in this together. If we let it out on someone else, not just karma, or you're gonna be whatever, what people are thinking always, they're gonna go to hell, or they're gonna be punished in an afterlife, or they're gonna have to be reborn as that person they have bullied, or yes, that is probably gonna happen in order to learn for the soul, but you're not gonna go to hell, okay? And you're not going to be punished like a criminal or something. The soul goes through learning stages, that's what it does. And so let's learn while we exist in this body right now. Whoever people are, wherever they are at with their in their situations, and whatever they look like. So you are where you are. Start there. Go into yourself. Look into yourself. Look into the core of your existence. And don't be afraid of what you see. Don't be afraid of it. It wants to talk to you. It has been wanting to talk to you when you drowned it out with alcohol. I understand the horror that that pushes people into escape routes. But don't take those escape routes. They're not gonna help you, or starving, or any kind of act out, or cutting, or whatever people are doing. Don't do it. Don't do it and see what happens. Be good to yourselves. Be kind to your bodies and see what happens. See what comes up. I don't know if this will reach a hater, for example. I don't know if they are receptive for this. So I don't know if people will understand this message at all. A lot of people they want to misunderstand something because they don't want to go there, what I'm talking about. A lot of men will go, oh, foot massage, foot fetish. Yeah, it's an escape route. Don't don't take the escape route. I mean, it's fun, yeah, have fun. But, my message is you can watch the video again, and then this time don't take that escape route. You know what I mean. You know what I'm talking about. Just watch this video without getting into a pleasure escape route. Just do it this time. Use this video as a meditation. Put aside listening to a woman talk. Like woman, if you listen to a woman talk and you listen to her, I'm not your guru or anything. Okay, I'm just here to help. I'm just here to give truthful information to you because I have been through this rigorously my entire life. And yes, I'm 54. I have knowledge under my belt, under my fat belt. So trust me, I have been through this, and I have run away. I have used escape routes. I've been through a lot, but I've always had this inner voice that said, come back to ground zero. This is not going anywhere. And I listened to it. Man, I'm grateful I had that inner voice. Let this help you. We all have problems, all of us. Trust me with this. We all do. I know we all do. Some people are more repressed than others. Some people have drowned that and stumped that further into the forbidden cellar of their emotions. Let this inner child come back out of that prison. Let the stuff come back out and see what happens. Don't act out, and see what happens. Nothing terrible is going to happen. Only pain is only going to talk to you. That's all it does. And it will only talk to you for so much that you can handle at any given time. And then you take a break after that. But take this opportunity. Go through that meditation. Let it come up. And it feels awful. And I told Paul that the anger feels real awful. It feels so awful that you just want to go out there and you want to get even. Yeah, I know how that feels. So don't do it. It's an escape route. It is an act out. It hurts others. It does not make the world better. It makes the world worse. It causes war. It just perpetuates the trauma cycle. Let's not continue in this any further. It's not going anywhere. So, in order to get somewhere, we have to stop all act outs. We have to feed ourselves healthy food, plant-based food. And the best is raw plants. That is the absolute best you can do for your system. So, and you sleep, you have to sleep a lot. And if you can't sleep, you can drink chamomile tea. It's very powerful, you know. It's an old grandmother recipes, and people think like, what the heck? You know, I'm not a soy boy or whatever they will say. Forget about these terrible, terrible associations, you know, from society. Forget about all of this. Chamomile is gonna help you. Okay? It doesn't matter whether you are a boy or a girl, man or woman. Okay, it will help you. It works wonders. And Dr. Scholl has a real incredible detox and an incredible yogi tea. Real incredible. Really, really relaxing and really detoxing. And if you start to eat raw food, you will fall asleep in less than 2 minutes. I'm giving you this as a guarantee because I have tried all of this. I had inflammatory bowel syndrome. When was this? 2013. And it was really bad. I'd been eating a lot of chocolate. Chocolate is actually toxic, you know, particularly in large amounts. Not just to animals, not just to dogs, but to humans too. And so, you know, a lot of like completely compacted Belgian chocolate in like 2-pounder bars and stuff like